Hello there, I'm Adam and welcome back to First Man Photography. Now today is a very big day for me, very big day, and it is the critical point in one of the hardest things I've ever done. Okay, so today is the release date of my book, and producing this thing has been extremely difficult. It's been exciting, it's been challenging, and overall very rewarding, I think, but I've learned loads along the way. So I thought as I talk through a bit about the book, I would share with you my experience, because if you have taken the time to get pictures together, it's always great to print them, and a good way to do that is in a book. So I just want to share what I've learned, show you a little bit about the book, and yeah, that's what today's video is about. You need to be inspired to make a book because it's a big undertaking. And I had put a couple of books together before for weddings and just personal work in a single book, just for me or just for the client or just for family, that kind of thing. And it was a fun process, and I understood that it took a lot of work, but it wasn't too much of a big deal because I wasn't selling it to anybody. To think about putting an actual book together that you're going to sell to people, it's a lot of work, so you need a little bit of inspiration. Now, I knew I had some images that I wanted to share, but you still need a little bit of encouragement, and talking to friends and things was very helpful. But my main inspiration for producing Illumination came from a day I spent with Charlie Waite when we were out and about in Yorkshire. And he was just so encouraging and so inspirational in actually giving me the belief that I could produce my own book. To be fair, he does that with everybody, and I would encourage everybody to do it as well, because it's just a great way to present and show your images, and it means that these beautiful landscape images that we're out there taking have some genuine value. And I think a book is just a lovely way to present them. I'm also just absolutely blown away, really, that in addition to that inspiration from Charlie, he also agreed to write the foreword for the book, which when he agreed to it, I was blown away. But then when the actual words came back that he'd written, it was an extremely humbling process. And I'm just so grateful and thrilled that he has done that for me and given this book, I suppose, his stamp of approval. So once we've decided we're going to put the effort in and make a book, I think with anything that you publish, whether it's online or as a physical product, is to have the mindset that content is king. We live in a world of clickbait and thumbnails, and it's slightly depressing, isn't it, when you click on that and the content is rubbish. Now, the same is true for a book. You want the content to be as good as you can possibly produce. And I think that's why, for me, it's taken so long for me to produce this, because it's literally years and years and years in the making. This contains my images from pretty much the last 5 years. Many of you will recognize the work in here if you've been following my channel for a long time, but a lot of those images are in the book. There are some a little bit older as well, but on the whole, most of the images that are in the book have been on a video and vlogged, and you can see me shooting it. That's why towards the end as well, I've put the QR codes in there so you can watch the video if you've not seen it before. In terms of the image content, it's taken me that long to get images to the standard that I was ready to share them and put them together in a book in some kind of consistent way with colour and feeling and mood. And I love photo books for that. However, I then wanted to have a unique selling point for my book, because there are a lot of great photo books out there and not everyone buys them all. So I felt that was important. So I wanted to have some written content as well. And I also wanted the book to appeal to not just people that take photographs themselves and give it a slightly wider reach. And I thought, well, what can I do? What can I write about? And then I sort of thought about my philosophy generally about taking photographs and where that comes from. And for me, it's got a huge amount to do with my time I spent as a police officer, including the 10 years I spent in the Met Police in London, and the way that changed me forever, dealing with moments of national tragedy and horrific acts of violence, domestic situations that were just so upsetting. And it had a huge effect on me. And it still does, probably to this day. I wanted to share some of that experience because it guides everything I do. It's the philosophy that I pour into my landscape photographs. So I've just thought that's a fairly unique experience, I would think, that most people don't know about. And because I've now left the police, I feel comfortable talking about it. And I think it's just an exciting story to share. So that's really what this book is, hence Illumination. It's that light in the dark. I poured my heart and soul into writing this book. I'm sharing stories from the streets, some of these difficult moments, but I've tried to, and I think successfully, keep a thread of hope and inspiration going through this. And despite all those things, life and nature and everything that's in landscape photography and life generally is still very, very special. And dealing with some of these difficult moments gives you perspective that almost lets you enjoy it a bit more. So if you were to buy the book, you're going to learn some stuff about me that you definitely didn't know before. But for your book, you don't necessarily need words. You might not be a writer. I mean, I'm certainly not the best writer in the world, but I employed an editor to go through what I'd written and turn it into language that's pleasant to read. That just also happens to be my mum, who is very good at that kind of thing. So yeah, it's worked out pretty well. But I just encourage you to be brave, be courageous in producing your work and put it out there, but make it the best you possibly can, because once you've put the effort in to make this thing, you want to be proud of it, which I absolutely am. So you've got the inspiration, you know what content you're putting in. We then need to decide whether we're going to get a publisher to produce the book or to self-publish. Now, almost certainly, in most cases, it's going to be self-publishing, because getting a book published is very difficult. I started thinking about down that line, but then some of the things I was hearing back I didn't like. I wanted to have control. I didn't want to have to jump through hoops for people. And I decided I was going to self-publish. Now, that comes with a number of extra challenges. Apart from anything, once you've got the images and the words, is actually using a computer program to put it all together into a book format. Now, I started using Apple Pages, probably not the best program to use, although it does do the job, but most printers are going to want it in a PDF produced in Adobe InDesign. So my final bit of work ended up in InDesign, but the printers did a lot of that work for me, which I was lucky, I think. Yeah, actually putting it into the software is difficult, but there are a lot of templates out there. So you can download a template from InDesign and then shift a few bits around, and you can have a very nice looking book once you've dragged all your stuff in. But it does take a little bit of time to get your head around and to learn. The next thing we need to think about with self-publishing is the money side of it. Now, I don't want to dwell on this for too long, but by self-publishing, it means you've got to fund the actual production of the book. Even for me, it's really difficult to know how many books I'm going to sell. And the thing with book printing is that the reductions in cost that you get from bulk orders is huge. Absolutely huge. So you save so much money by getting them made in bulk. It's not about the money. It's just about pouring my heart and soul into something that was a little bit cathartic. I would really urge you not to over-order, because you don't want to be sitting on a load of stock. Pre-orders is a good way to kind of gauge what your audience thinks and how many you can maybe order. I think I ordered 5 times what the pre-orders were. Whether that works out yet, I don't quite know, but that's what I've done. I was lucky enough to have a bit of savings put aside to produce the book, but if you do pre-orders, you will get some cash up front as well. But just bear in mind that if someone that's pre-ordered cancels, you've got to give them that money back. So Just bear that in mind as well. It's better to have money saved away to invest in actually producing the book. So once we've done all that, we then need to think about getting the book printed and finding a printer that can do it. Now, there are a lot out there that make books, but it's about finding the right one. I got a number of quotes from different companies, some local, some a bit further away, and I settled on using a company called XYZ that I had found from a recommendation from Sean Tucker. But then I also found a YouTube video that they'd done about how hardback books are made. And that was just super useful. I got in touch with him, and then Mike at XYZ was just a great guy, gave me all the information I needed. So I ended up going with them. And the production quality is just so high. But that's going to have to be something that you think about, because it depends how many you're going to get made. This book is produced on silk paper, and it's litho printed, which is a analog process where they make sheets out of aluminium. It then goes through, then gets inked and pressed onto the paper, and it's like an analog way of producing a book. But you can only really do it if you mass produce it. It's also, due to the sort of bespoke size, it's slightly bigger than A4, slightly taller. It's section sewn as well, which costs more money. But there are cheaper ways to do it. And if you only get a few made, you can have it digitally printed, which looks almost as good. Oh, it does look great still. But yeah, the materials has a big effect on the cost, and it just depends how many you want. But I'm thrilled with this book. It's just so beautiful. I've got this black Wibble-in paper that wraps around the hard cover. I've then got this blue one, which I think complements that really well. And then we just go into the paper. I had a number of proofs made, sent back to me, and then returned them again, giving my sort of opinion on the colour, and then they colour match it, and it's just come out absolutely perfectly. Yeah, I mean, a long old process. Is then a case of shipping it, which has varying degrees of difficulty depending how many you're selling. If you're selling more than 50 to 100, you probably want to start looking at a system that you can pull things directly from your sales system into the shipping system. Now, I've had a difficult time with this, but I've settled on using Royal Mail Click and Drop, because I can pull things straight from my website into that system and then just print the labels off really, really easily and put them onto the paper. I then just take a bulk of orders, take them to the sorting office, and they get sent all over the world. It's just been a challenge from start to finish, but in the end, I'm just absolutely thrilled with it. And I would love it if you were to pick one up. Go to the link down below and check it out. It comes in 2 editions. This is the standard edition, although there's not really anything standard about it. It is still very much a premium product, I think. But then there's the collector's edition, which is an edition of 100. I think there's about 40 left. That's not shipping just yet because there's been a delay getting some of the materials from Italy, but you can still purchase that and I'll ship it as soon as it's ready. This one is available to ship right now. So please do go ahead and order a copy, get that plug out the way, and yeah, that's been my experience making this thing. It's been cathartic, it's been rewarding, it's been challenging, emotional. I got emotional writing some of the stories, actually, remembering some of those things. I've shed a tear or two, I think, but yeah, like at the end of it, like I say, you will feel hopeful and inspired, I think, which may be something important at this moment in time. Hit the link down below, and I'll see you on another video very soon. Thanks. Bye.